Alrighty. I'm Colton McGrew, and I am doing this interview for Congressman James Comer's office. I'm interviewing Mr. Carroll Walker here. Today is June the 3rd, 2019. I'm at Carroll's home here near Tiline, Kentucky. Carroll's a friend of mine from church. We go to church together. I always grown up knowing Carroll. And I'm doing this for the Veterans History Project at the Library of Congress. All right. If you want to tell me your first name, your full name,
Carroll Demetrius Walker,
and your birthday.
7943.
You was in the Army, correct?
Yes.
And what was your highest rank?
Spec 5 E5.
Okay. And the conflict you was in?
Sorry?
And you was in Vietnam, correct?
Yes, I was in Vietnam, 1968.
Alrighty. I think that's all the biographical stuff. So I'll just jump into the questions. So you grew up around here, right?
Yes, grew up on a farm just over about 5 miles away from here.
What was your life like before growing up and before you got into the service?
Well, I was a farm boy. We did raise cattle and we had grain and just about every kind of animal there was and so forth. And it was a good life. Enjoyed it.
All right. Had anyone else in your family ever been in the military before you came into the military?
No, I'm sorry to say, the Civil War was the last time some of them were in. I had three great-great-grandfathers that were in the Civil War. One was Confederate, and two were, uh, uh, well, what?
Union.
Union.
Mhm.
Yes, Union. Confederate, he died in a prison camp in Columbus, Ohio.
Ooh. It's a little division in the family
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So, how old were you when you joined the military?
Um, 23.
23. How'd your family feel about it? How'd they react to you getting drafted?
Well, we knew it was going to happen and so forth, and they were getting closer and closer. And I was in college at the time, and of course I was gung ho about it then. I didn't realize what Vietnam was all about. And Barry Sadler had that song, "Ballad of the Green Berets," and I thought that was wonderful. And I got all jacked up about all that and everything. And college really wasn't for me anyway, so I just dropped out and went down and told them I was going to join.
Okay.
Well, first of all, though, I went to a recruiter
Mhm.
and pretty well got what I wanted, and I stayed with it too throughout service. I was
Mhm.
surprised, but it didn't happen to everybody.
Yeah. So you said you joined while you were in college. Where'd you go to
Yes,
college at?
Murray State.
All right. Um, so what made you want to join the military? Other than, like, I remember you said that you heard the song and everything, but what else about it kind of
Well,
made you
at
feel?
that time, I mean, I didn't feel any better than anyone else, and
Mhm.
so many guys were going and so forth. And at that time, I thought it was for a good cause, but of course, I learned later.
Changed your opinion later?
Yes, I did.
All right. So you said you joined the army, right?
Yes.
Okay. So when you signed up to leave, how long was it between when you signed the paperwork and when you left?
Not very long. They sent us for examination to Louisville, and I was in charge of all those guys and had to do the paperwork and everything, make sure they got there and kept up with the
Mhm.
meals and all that. And it wasn't very long at all. I mean,
Mhm.
they were eager for bodies, I'd say.
Yeah.
You know.
Uh, what were those days like between signing up for it and waiting to leave? Was you nervous, or how'd you feel about it?
No, I really wasn't because I didn't know what to expect, actually,
Mhm.
And of course, Marion and I were going together at that time, and we had a pretty hot relationship going. And anyway, no, I really wasn't upset about it at all.
Not nervous or anything, just
No,
ready to go.
I'm ready to go. Mhm.
Alrighty. Um, so when did you leave for when did you leave for the service?
It was It was sometime in May of '66
Okay.
is when I went to basic training and all of that.
How'd you get there? Did they fly you out, or did they
Well,
take you on a bus?
they took us on a bus to Fort Knox, and that's where we were supposed to have our training. And we laid around there for about a week, and they didn't have room for us, so they just
Mhm.
got a whole bunch of us and got us on a jet plane and flew us to Fort Bliss, Texas. Family didn't know where I was, or no one else there for a few days,
Ooh.
because you had letter writing. That was about it.
Was that your first time flying?
Yes, it was.
Was that an experience?
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Guess. And you said it was. You went to Fort Knox first, and then you went to Texas for training.
Mhm.
What base did you say it was?
Fort Bliss,
Fort Bliss.
El Paso.
Okay.
Hot. Oh my God, it was hot.
So, what was your experience like when you first got there? What did you think about it when you first got to Texas?
Basic. We got there about almost dark, and those sergeants, man, they met the bus and they was yelling and screaming. You couldn't get off fast enough. You couldn't do this. You couldn't do that. And it was terrible. I thought, what the hell have I gotten myself into? I mean, they didn't listen to anybody. Just yell and scream.
Mm-hmm.
Run, run, run.
What
And,
was you terrified?
well, I'm terrified. I was. It's something I had never expected.
Mm-hmm.
I thought
What?
it'd be kind of a calm experience.
And so how did you feel about it? Did you feel like it was like a good way of introducing you to it? Did you think it was kind of aggressive, or how did you feel about all the screaming and yelling when you first came in there in those first few days?
Well, I really didn't understand it, but anyway, I went with it and went through it. And after a while, it didn't really matter. I mean, everything was rush, 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 running up and downstairs, whatever. I guess it was to destroy you and
Yeah.
rebuild you.
Mhm.
They got a point there, I guess.
So what all did you do in your training? So can you kind of explain what the training
a
was
lot of
like?
marching, of course, and uh, hand-to-hand combat training and rifle. Was out on the rifle range quite a bit, training there,
Mhm.
and of course marching and different maneuvers and so forth, and
Mhm.
a lot of yelling and screaming.
Did it was what do you remember the best about your training?
Best,
Hmm.
I don't remember so much best. It was rough. I remember the what they call that that last part where you had to crawl under the machine gun fire and all of that, and under Constantina War and all that stuff. And that was a little bit frightening, but
Mhm.
no.
Lower. So anything you remember particularly that you disliked or you liked in particular or anything?
Well, I made a few friends, at that time, and I enjoyed that. And
Mhm.
you'd have time to talk a little bit at night
Mhm.
and help each other out.
Yeah. Who were your friends? Could you?
I don't remember my friends at basic.
Mhm.
I mean, it was such a
Mhm.
temporary thing.
Mhm.
I remember there was a guy from Kentucky.
Okay.
And,
Remember how y'all met and became friends? Or
no, we were in the same cubicle and so
Mhm.
forth and all. And
Just
I
kind
don't know.
just kind of made friends by association.
I guess, yeah.
Okay. So whenever you got there and you went into basic training and everything, do you have any trouble? Was adapting to military life? Was it kind of a challenge or anything?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I'm a little farm
Mhm.
boy and getting into all that mess,
Mhm.
something you've never done before. All of that.
What was it like adapting to it? And how is it different from civilian life?
Well, wasn't anything calm about it, I mean,
Mhm.
the only calm time you had was when lights were out and you were sleeping, because they tried to keep you busy all the time, shining your boots at night,
Mhm.
shining your medals and belt buckle and all that,
Mhm.
and surprise inspections and inspection of your bunk occasionally. Make sure your blanket and all had to be tight enough that they'd throw a quarter on it, it would bounce. If they didn't, well, they'd just throw your stuff all over the place and tell you to redo it.
So they would throw a quarter on it to see if it bounced?
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard of that
They had
before.
it, they had those hospital corners and all that.
Mhm.
It was real tight, If it's real tight and all, you throw a quarter on it, it would bounce. That was good. But if it didn't
Okay.
bounce, you had problems.
Do it again.
Do it again.
um, so when you got down to the end of your basic training, was you ready to be done with it and move
Oh,
on?
absolutely. Yeah.
What was the last days of it like?
Oh, it got better. I mean, the sergeants, they slacked up and so forth and treated you more human. And then you had your, I forget what the last was, make sure you could do all these things. It was kind of rough there, but we made them. See how many things that they had taught you could do. I remember going across the parallel ladder or whatever,
Mhm.
and I was just trying so dang hard. Of course, I had calluses, from all of that. And
Mhm.
I slipped and tore calluses off my hands, trying to stay up there.
Ooh.
Hmm.
So whenever, so after you graduated from basic training, where did they send you to first?
Well, after we got out of basic training, there was an airline strike on, and I couldn't fly. My next duty station was about a week later, I think, at Fort Ord, California, which is near Monterey.
Mhm.
And you could go home during that time, if you wanted, but airline strike was on, so we had to take buses back to our homes and back to our next duty station.
Mhm.
So came home, and of course Mary and I, we were pretty tight by then, so we decided to get married. So we got married during those, I don't know, maybe a week or less that we had,
Mhm.
which was foolish. But anyway, it worked out. And then we had to catch a bus, and all of us got together that were in that group and so forth that I took a bus, and I'm getting ahead of myself. I had to take a bus. It's on my own. I had to take a bus all the way to Fort Ord,
Mhm.
Monterey, California. 3 days and 3 nights, trailway bus. It was exciting though. I never seen the West. My
Mhm.
goodness, I like that. I remember driving through cornfields, seemed like forever,
Mhm.
just to roll through a cornfield there in Kansas. Never saw such, but it was nice, and met a guy. We went all the way out there together. We enjoyed talking to each other and so forth. He was in the military too, different outfit. But we got there, and it was different.
Mhm.
AIT was different. There's some advanced training in the MOS I was in. It was a lot of book learning and all that stuff. And of course, you were out there too with your marching and
Mhm.
your keeping in shape and all that.
Okay. And so when you got to California, what was your time in California like? What was your job? And can you kind of tell me about like what it
Well,
was
it wasn't
like?
a job; it was training
Or
for
training?
that part of it. And
Okay.
after Fort Ord, why they sent me then to Fort Ben Harrison, Indiana. Oh man, Uncle Ben's rest home that we called it. That was really nice.
Mhm.
Nice new barracks and everything, and people were civil there. And had a lot of training there as to records and so forth we might be using,
Mhm.
in personnel and so forth. But that was really good. That's where I met some real good friends, and still in contact with some of them.
Could you tell me about those friends?
Well, there were a couple of them I remember real well. Bob Marticello, he lives in South Carolina, I believe it is now, or maybe North Carolina now, and we're still in contact with each other by phone. We did by phone for years, and now we do texting and things like that.
Okay.
And one of them died, James Mize, and he disappeared for years, and finally tracked him down. And there was a third one. Let's see, Stan Williams. He lives in West Virginia. He's been here, and we've been there too. A few times.
Nice. So you said you was there for more training. I assume that was your specialty training. And could you
Yeah.
kind of tell me about your job, the training for your specialty?
Well, there was so much of it. I mean, they covered everything, stuff that we really would never use, of
Mhm.
course. And but like I said, it was good. They were civil to us there,
Mhm.
and we enjoyed it. Oh, they had a, you know, after your training was over, I mean, most of it's like in the morning and part of the afternoon, and then you could pretty well do what you wanted to. After that, they had a hamburger joint. Uh, uh, oh, Red Cross, I think, was there, and what was this other outfit that was around military units and so forth? But and we could even go out and to the town if we wanted to. So it was nice. It's real nice.
Okay. Uh,
Then from there, of course, Vietnam was pretty hot at that time,
mhm.
and everybody's worried about their next duty station.
Mhm.
And my next duty station was Oakland, California, as well as several others, and we were scared to death. We thought we were going to Vietnam
Mhm.
because that's where they shipped them,
Mhm.
there in Fort Lewis, Washington. They went out of there and Fort Dix. But we got there and we were pleasantly surprised. That was our next duty station, and they treated us so nice. They showed what we was going to do, and so, oh, man, this Army's not too bad. And I enjoyed it. I really did that time. And work during the day. I worked at the returnee reassignment station. That's guys coming back from Vietnam if they had less than a year remaining
Mhm.
and weren't pleased with their next duty station. We could change it for them to get them close to home. And we did a lot of that. We were in contact with Pentagon and all of that. We changed a lot of orders. And, I remember one sad case, though. Of course, we had a roster of those people that was coming back from Vietnam also.
Mhm.
And I was working night. I was working, let's see, from 4, I guess, until midnight or something like that. And about 8 or 9 o'clock every night there for probably a month or later, longer, this woman would call crying about her son. Where's my son? And we'd look at the roster and say, well, he came home a certain time. Well, he never did show.
Mhm.
Never did show. And every night the same thing. Where's my son? And crying and all of this. And of course, we didn't know what was going on then. But a lot of those guys that were coming back from Vietnam had problems, and many of them went to just out on their own and stayed away from their families. Many of them went to like Montana, and just get out there away from everything.
Mhm.
It was so bad, but we didn't realize that at the time.
Didn't so y'all didn't know what it was that
That was
why?
we didn't know what had happened.
Mhm.
We thought maybe there'd been an accident or whatever between uh, Travis Airport or Travis Air Force Base is where they came in, and they went to a bus to Oakland
Mhm.
and were processed. They were processed out of the Army and also or to the next duty station, and at least some over there too. The other group did a different office, I guess you would say.
Okay. So before you got to Vietnam, what did y'all know about what was going on? What did y'all know about Vietnam before that?
Well, we kept hearing things about people coming back and so forth, and uh, we were beginning to get turned on the war. We
Mhm.
really were. We knew it wasn't necessary, wasn't going to happen. I mean, uh, that best buddy of mine, Robert Marticello, our bunks and all were on the second floor, and you could overlook down through there on that Oakland Army base, and about a half a block away was a Quonset hut, great big Quonset hut, and they ship bodies there. They bring bodies back there, and they back semis up and unload bodies, for hours, one after another. And it really got to old Bob. Oh my God. He said, we should not be in Vietnam. See what's happening. He said, we'll never win that war. And look what it's doing to our young people.
Mhm.
Of course, I was still gung ho about it. I said, well, that's just the way war is, and all of that. But I soon changed my mind after I got there. But it was rough. Some of it was rough. I remember one day at the returning station, this guy came in and he just had I guess, a nervous breakdown. He didn't know where he was and all. He was screaming and hollering. He said, I cannot go to Vietnam. I'll die. I'll die. And he fell into the floor and was screaming and hollering and all. And the MPs came in there and jerked him up, and said, you're going to have to settle down now, and all of this. And took him out. And it was just things like that would occasionally happen. And we began to learn what it was all about. And of course, we hear things too, guys coming back. I remember one day I went out into a different part of the big old building that we were in, and I saw these guys in chains. It must have been 10 or 12 of them in chains up there. And I said, what's going on anyway? The sergeant or whatever was in charge of them. He said, oh, these guys didn't think they was going to go to Vietnam, but they are. They're going. I guess they might have been AWOL or something,
Mm-hmm.
And that bothered me. I thought, they're not going to get the best assignment there. It was sad times. It was sad times. But later, while I was there and all, I asked one of the sergeants there if it would be all right to bring my wife out there. Did he think I would remain there? Oh yes, you're going to remain here. No problem. So I came home on my leave. Then you used to get 30 days a year.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you still do. I don't know. But anyway, I came home and brought her out there, and we rented an apartment off base, and that's when I met Stanley Williams and all his. In fact, he helped me get that apartment, which is directly across from theirs. It was in Oakland, and we had the best time of our lives at that time. It didn't last long. I think she was there about 6 months when I got orders in Vietnam. That was terrible. She's already pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, I got those orders that afternoon. Just as I was leaving, they called me in and said, no, yeah, I'm sorry, but you got orders for Vietnam. Oh my God. I remember the bus ride home. I didn't know what was going on. Man, I was so upset. I guess if we just gotten paid or something, because she had a real nice steak dinner and baked potato and all that, and I told her we couldn't eat. We just cried all night. It's terrible. But no, didn't know what we were going to do. Heartbreaking. But anyway, I think it was, I probably flew home, gave me some time off. I had 30 days, flew home for a while. And then it was in December. I had to leave. Marian's mother and she took me to the airport at Paducah,
Mm-hmm.
and pouring down rain. And I remember I got on that plane. It was just about dark, and they were standing on the what do they call that? I lost my words sometime. Tarmac.
Mm-hmm.
You know what it is? And umbrellas. And I thought, man, I'll never see them again. And flew out of there. Boy, I was depressed. It was the lowest I could ever be. And stewardess, she was trying to cheer me up. It was just a small plane flying like to St. Louis, I think it was. And I couldn't be cheered up. Anyway, got to St. Louis and got on a big plane to fly to Fort Lewis, Washington. That's where I was kind of disembarked to go to Vietnam, even though they did it at Oakland. But anyway, I went up there. And on the way on that jet and all, suddenly something just overcame me, and I said, "You're going to be all right," you know. I was, but I imagine that happens to most guys. A lot of them didn't make it, you know. But anyway, was there about 5 days, I guess, and then one night, right at dark, we flew out of there, flew out there going to Vietnam, and on the way, somewhere over the Pacific between there and Hawaii, they had engine trouble. And I remember I was sitting there about half asleep, had my seatbelt off, and we dropped. I don't know how far we dropped, but I was off the seat. And everybody was shook up. And we got there, and then they had engine trouble. That's what it was. And we were there, I guess, 5 hours before we finally flew out. Ended up in Guam the next day. Then from Guam to Vietnam. What's the name of the place? I'm getting old. Anyway, we landed there that day. And you hear some guys talk about that they crawled off the planes and all that, you know, under fire. It wasn't true with us anyway. They told us that, so we might have to crawl off the plane. That's just something they scare people with, I think. But anyway, got there Christmas Day, 1967. And the next day they flew me up to the train. And I saw that was going to be pretty nice, I thought.
So, when you first got to Vietnam, and you kind of got there and looked around and saw what it was like, and what was your first impression of the country?
Beautiful country, some of it, you know, what hadn't been blown apart. The train was nice. It was an old French. There was an old French fellow there. The French were there at one time, you know. And they had a beautiful shoreline and all of that. And we were, our 2nd Battalion, which was under Fort McDermott, I think they called it. That whole area was Fort McDermott. That it was out kind of on a peninsula, I guess you would say. And all you had to worry about just more or less was one side where the mountains came around. And boy, that's where the mortars came. Mortars and rocket attacks and everything. And it was pretty peaceful around there for a while. You know, every now and then you'd have an alert. And of course, I got there Christmas Day, and the Tet Offensive hit about the 30th or 31st of January of 1968. And oh, I tell you what, all hell broke loose that time. Man, they overran us and everything else. And there was an airport next to us. And we were out there at night. We just go to the perimeter, guard the perimeter, you know, and we had bunkers and everything. And these, we called it Puff the Magic Dragon. It's a great big helicopter. And my gosh, it put a line of fire you wouldn't believe. It's just like, you know, every, 7th bullet, 5th bullet, or whatever's traced around it. You wouldn't believe it. You know, fire into that area. They said the VC were on the other side of the mountain, the big battalion. They going to come over and wipe us out and all that. It was just like a fireworks display. It's really what it kind of reminds you of. And they dropped these other little planes that dropped these flares on little parachutes to light up the whole area. And You lay out there night after night and then try to work during the day, and we got like a bunch of zombies. We didn't know what the hell we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So they got to, well, you go sleep a couple of hours, come back.
Mm-hmm.
Day after day, it was, I don't know how long it was, over a week, I know. And we almost shot at these Vietnamese one night. There was a Vietnamese that had an army just outside our perimeter, and we didn't know about it. And we were there in our bunker one time, and this Vietnamese just popped up out there, and we all let our guns go. We were ready, and he started hollering that he was friendly. So we hadn't been shot. But we laid in that old bunker night after night. It's sand, a lot of sand there. And we had one officer, though. He would come around in his Jeep and check on us. And he had baskets of apples and baskets of bananas and all that. He'd give us a bunch of that every night. And we got so much of it, we started burying it. Cool down under the sand. But he was concerned about us and so forth. And what was really bad, though, in the afternoon they used to have formations. They cut that out too. A little later, they'd have formations and tell you what the in the Secret Service, what was it called? Find anymore. Anyway, tell what they had found out, what they were going to do, and they'd say, well, you guys might as well go back and write your final letter home because they're going to come in and going to wipe you out tonight. Say if there's any survivors, try to get through the jungle. Maybe you'll meet up with somebody else, some other outfit. And man, they worked on your mind. I mean, things like that. I remember one night, man, they were dead serious. They were going to come over that mountain and get us. And they very well could. They had a big battalion over there. But I remember writing a final letter. And never did mail it, of course. But it got so bad they cut out those formations. Right, we get hit. But like I said, oh my God, we went through hell there for a while. I remember we were so sleepy. I think it was about 5 or 6 of us in that bunker. We decided that everybody would sleep at 1. He'd stay awake for an hour or so, and then somebody else would take over. Well, I woke up, and everybody was asleep. And it scared me, so I never did sleep anymore. But anyway, mortar attacks. Oh my gosh, they mortar and rocket attacks. Time at night after night, and those sirens would go off, for alerts and everything. Oh, this was once I played it's a little old field organ, they called it, for chapel service over there. And we got to having a singing at 6 o'clock Sunday night. A bunch of guys go down there and sing, and I'd play for them. And one night I was going down through there, and my good friend Ron Bassett, he lives in Portland, Oregon area now. He and I were really tight, still are. Anyway, I was getting ready to go. I said, Ron, everybody called the last name. I said, Bassett, are you going to church tonight? He said, no, I'm going to stay here and write letters. So I went on. We sang one song, selected another one, and it propped up there, and I was ready to come down on the keys, and all hell broke loose. Man, they hit us with everything they had. And the chaplain, we were way down, I don't know, probably a block away or so, and we couldn't get our weapons. They were in the barracks. And he said, follow me. He knew where a bunker was out there, and we all jumped in that bunker. I never saw such in my life. Fire everywhere, and just one round after another coming in, constantly. rockets and mortars and everything they had. And they hit a barracks. I thought it was ours. Hit a barracks and blew into smithereens. Everything was on fire.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, oh my God, Ron's dead. You know, Bassett's dead.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys, I never saw such raw emotion in my life. You couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't get your weapon or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them were crying, and others were praying. And like me, some of them were just, I couldn't believe what was happening. I was stunned.
Mm-hmm.
Just kept watching it and watching it. And it finally let up, and we started running like hell to our barracks to get our guns. And I met Ron. He was looking for me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, he gave me all this cussing you ever heard. Why in the hell did you not come up here and get your weapon? I said, we couldn't. We were pinned down, you know, and all.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he kept on and on and on. He was mad.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, it turned to yellow alert later, I think, or something like that. We were talking, a bunch of us that had been to church. And I said, we sang one song. I said, we was ready to sing another song. I had it propped on. Oh, we didn't either. I said, yes, we did too. I said, it's propped open down there at the chapel.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went down there. It was still under alert, yellow alerts. You couldn't have a light on or anything.
Mm-hmm.
We went in there and creeped up there. You know, that old chapel's dark as could be, and had a flashlight.
Mm-hmm.
There it was. The name of it was Jesus Calls Us Over the Tumult. And he almost did, you know.
Oh.
But, oh my, we just stood there in silence, you know. But I was telling you about Ron, how mad he was and all.
Mm-hmm.
He came to see us. Well, first I went out there, over there to Oregon in 2000, I think it was. No, it wasn't 1990. I visited with him and his wife, and so they came in the year 2000
Mm-hmm.
here to see us. And I was asking him about that. I said, why were you so damn mad at me? I said, I couldn't do anything about that.
Mm-hmm.
He said, that's how I control my emotion.
Okay.
He said, I paced back and forth up there to that barracks thinking you were dead,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And that's true. We do handle emotions differently. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm going too far for you.
Oh no, this is all very interesting. So I guess was this all during the Tet Offensive, or
Yes,
was it
during the Tet Offensive.
during the entire time?
Yeah. Oh well, yeah. There were other incidents too. You know, that we had from time to time. You'd have alerts.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they would just be a yellow alert, and I've forgotten what the signals were. It's according to the sirens that went off.
Mm-hmm.
If it was a constant, I think that was a red alert. And then if you had one that's kind of waving or something like that, that might be yellow.
Okay.
And then you had an all clear. I forgot how they were.
Okay. So after the Tet, how long was the Tet Offensive?
Oh, some areas it lasted for months. I think a few, maybe, I don't have any months, but
Mm-hmm.
they had guys, you know, they had to, I forget what it was, completely surrounded, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they having to drop supplies into them and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Lasted a long time.
Okay. So after the Tet Offensive was over and everything, and things kind of settled down a bit, so what exactly was your day-to-day job while you were there?
Well, at that time, I was working in personnel, and I would type orders.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. I would work records, you know,
Mm-hmm.
whatever they wanted me to do, whatever. You know, it was a pretty good sized office there.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And we all worked together and worked real well too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we did our job well. Yeah, of course, there's always some kind of excitement going on. I remember one day we were all working real hard in there, and all at once gunfire broke loose and everything such. Everybody hit the floor,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody crept to the door and looked out. Here came the soldier out of a building over there. He kind of lost it, I guess, and he was carrying his weapon with his head down.
Mhm.
everybody leaving him alone. And he just started walking down the road. And those Vietnamese women, I remember this, running and screaming and all, what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
He blew just about the whole ceiling out of the building over there. His weapon.
Was that a common experience for soldiers to break down and do stuff like that?
We had one to kill himself in the motor pool one night.
Oh.
Got a Dear John letter said because that.
Lord. So when you weren't working and when there wasn't gunfire or anything, what'd you do with your spare time while he was there?
We had a beach just right next to us.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd go to that beach. We'd get when there were good times, peace times or whatever, we'd get a half a day off a week. And that's where we spent a lot of times on that beach. And then we could go downtown a lot of times too. We go down there and maybe pick up a few things and so forth and look around, and the Red Cross was really good too. They had a Red Cross there, and they had the donut dollies, the pretty little women, all the streets of those, and we go over there and talk with them, and of course I played piano. They had a piano in there. I played for that sometime, and occasionally they'd have a little tour. They'd take a bus and give us a little tour. Ron and Bassett and I went on a little tour one time. We went way out in the country and saw an old, what were they called? Monastery or something like that. Way out there in the bush. Had been there probably 1,000 years or whatever. And they showed us just different things really that the Vietnamese did. So forth. I remember on that trip we were stopped at this seashore there, and some special rock out there in the water they thought was superstitious or whatever. Good luck, I forget what it was. But anyway, this Vietnamese man came up and he had watches. You wouldn't believe, all kinds of watches, trying to sell watches. All these are pretty good. And Ron bought one of those darn things. I don't know what he paid for it. He got back on the bus and the whole thing fell apart. But I guess they had to do something to make a living. But I remember one time I went over to the Red Cross just to play piano. People enjoyed that. I played I played by ear and also by note, but I played by ear. I didn't have any music over there. And I got to play, and we had a Korean compound next to ours, right over there, close to that. And we had a lot of other countries that were involved in Vietnam. And those Koreans, boy, I tell you what, they were fighters. And I was playing piano one day, and this Korean came up there and started singing American songs. Had a kind of a well, he wasn't singing exactly right, but anyway, I enjoyed that. Well, all at once, all hell broke loose. I mean, you never heard such firepower in your life. And we ran out of there, and I didn't know what to do. And he said, "Come with me to my compound." So we crawled under a fence and went over there. Come to find out, it was some howitzers of ours that were firing, right down there. And he talked to his commanding officer, and his commanding officer spoke good English. And he said, "Mr. Johns," I didn't call him. He said, "Mr. Johns really enjoyed your piano playing." No. And I said, "Well, I enjoy his singing. He's had a good voice." And he said, "You don't know who he is, do you?" I said, "No, I don't." He said, "He's a big TV star and all, kind of like your Elvis Presley in Korea." And they invited me over the next day for dinner, but I couldn't go. I had, I forget what it was. I had to work anyway, and so I didn't make it. And I've kicked myself 100 times for not getting back over there. They told me to come anytime, They would have.
And they liked your piano playing.
Yeah, I like piano playing.
Like I said, I also like your piano playing.
Well, thanks. But there were some good times over there too.
So, how long was you there?
A year,
Solid year.
1 year.
Okay.
Came back December of '68.
Okay. Um, so all the people back home, how'd you keep in touch with them? Did you write
Letter writing,
letter writing?
letter writing, and while I was, they had this military MARS, I forget what it was anyway, by using ham radios and so forth. You could make a call to America, and it's usually early in the morning, maybe 7 or 8 o'clock. That's when you could get a signal through. And I tried calling Marion 2 different times, and it would be the night before. It would be like 8 o'clock the night before if I was calling 8 o'clock there. And she could hear me. She said it sounded just like I was next door, but I couldn't. Hers was all mumbled and jumbled, and I couldn't understand her. And with ham operators, they just keep transferring it and then hook it in the phone line closer to home. And every time you was talking, you'd have to, when you were finished, you'd say over, and that meant they'd flip it then over to who you're talking to. You just switch it over. And you had to be careful with your language too. Man, they'd jump you if you said something out of the ordinary.
Yeah. Who was your commanding officers like listening in on that, or who was listening?
No, the ham operators, they didn't take any of that stuff.
Okay. So what were your last days like in Vietnam?
It's kind of sad. Sad.
Can you tell me about them? Or we could skip them if you want.
I got very close to some of those guys, and I hated to leave, but I did. I knew I'd never see them again in most cases. And I took about a week or 10 days to get ready and ship my stuff back and so forth, and all of that. Did a lot of talking and so forth. I know that night before I was to leave, they kind of gave me a little party down at the Red Dog Saloon. We sat around and talked and so forth and drank and all of that. And my best buddy Ron Bassett and I, we milled around the area late that night, just talking and so forth, and just wondering if we ever see each other again or whatever. And it's getting late, so we had to get in our sack, and I told him, I said, let's meet tomorrow for breakfast real early, because I didn't have to leave until about 7 or something like that. And breakfast, I think they started at 5 or whatever. So we did. We met for breakfast and said our goodbyes. Got in a Jeep, went to the airport, and they had some problems with too many on a flight or something I'm supposed to have been on, and they combat loaded us in one of those, I forget what they were called now. It was just an old military plane that they ship things in, opened up in the tail. They loaded us in there, a bunch of us that were excess. I mean, nobody could have fallen down. We were just standing there, just tight as could be, and shipped us over to Benoit, I believe it was. And they're going to fly us out of there. Well, we got there, and they just piddled around, this and that, didn't do it in about 3 or 4 days. We finally went, some of us went to the adjutant general, and he got things done. We got out of there that day.
Just got to go a little higher on the ladder and get things done, right?
Yeah, that's right. And boy, it's great to fly out of there. We flew out of there, and it was, I don't know, in the afternoon. Flew to Japan. And then we got started again, and we was going to fly directly to Oakland, Travis Air Force Base. And we got out over the Pacific. It was dark, and they serviced our supper. You know, back then airlines, you know, they served food and everything. They really treated you well. And about that time, we hit a storm you would not believe. We had to sit there and hold our trays, keep going nowhere. And the pilot said, well, we're going to try to fly above it. Couldn't fly above it. Couldn't fly around it. Couldn't get, said, hold on, said, we're going to have to go through it. Terrible storm. And I was sitting over the wing, and that little old red light out there, that wing was flapping like a bird, you know. And, oh my God. Here it is, gone through Vietnam, and to be out here in the Pacific forever, you know. Die out here, plane crash. But we got through it, and after that, the door was there, you know, to escape with. And that door started vibrating, making a noise after all that. And I told the stewardess, and she told the captain. He came back there and said, that thing vibrating a little in the house. I said, yes, it is. He went, bam, 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 bam. He said, it's all right. I thought, oh my God.
Wow.
Oh my God, it stuck me out of here. But anyway, we ended up in Travis Air Force Base in California, and we landed. Oh my God, what a good feeling. There were guys kissing the ground. They were kissing the ground. Couldn't believe it. They loaded us in a bus and took us to Oakland, which wasn't too far. And I remember looking at the vegetation and everything. You know, in California, everything blooms year round. Oh, I thought it was beautiful. Sand all the time. And we got there and processed out. And I dropped by my old unit to return a reassignment station. A lot of the people were still there, you know, talked with them and all. And they wished me well. Good to see me. And they processed us out. I think, well, I got there that day. It was a night, and the next morning, I think they finally got us out of there. But they measured us and gave us new suits, new boots, whole works, you know. And 5 of us got together, and we rented a taxi, and we went over to San Francisco and flew out of there. We didn't have any trouble, but later on, you know, they got to having trouble, people spitting at us and everything like that.
So that was one of the things I was going to ask about, is like how you were received when you got home.
Well, as if nothing had ever happened. Should never get that. I guess you did. Act as if nothing ever happened. And I know I flew to, my wife was living with my mother at that time up around Dayton, Ohio, and we landed. She met me with Brian. That's the first time I ever saw him, held him. And my mother was there, and my 2 brothers and their wives, all loaded us in the car, snowing, you wouldn't believe. And I thought, oh my gosh, leave, you know, 90-degree, 100-degree temperature, and then come back for a snowstorm.
What the change?
And, anyway, it was great. Oh my God, it was great. I couldn't believe I'd made it. But oh, I remember on the way flying between, well, when I got to California from Travis Air Force Base, I was going to call Marion. I didn't have a dime because, you know, you don't have any change at all.
Yeah.
The only change you were allowed in Vietnam was pennies. American, you got MPC, military payment certificates. 5 cents, 10 cents, 25 cents, just like in America, and then $1, $5, $20. And anyway, none of us had a dime. We was passing the dime around, calling our wives, and I was saying we were home. And they gave us a steak dinner. The military did that night when I mean, they kept it open throughout the night and the day too. We got in there, they give you a steak dinner and baked potato and salad and all that stuff, you know. So we ate all that and went to bed and got up the next morning and processed out. But I remember on the way back flying between San Francisco and I guess it was St. Louis where no, it was Cincinnati. And we flew right on into Cincinnati. And I got to thinking about those guys back there. And they had this piped music, you know, you had these tubes plug in your ears. And they were playing that song, does anybody here sing Old Friend John? Can you tell me where he's gone? Oh God, I got to cry. I got to cry, you know, about those guys over there. I did. And so many of them I've never seen again. I don't know what happened to them. But I've kept up with many of them. Sure have. But it was hard times. Got back here and like I never got a job up there. Didn't work very long. They fired me or whatever. And so I wanted to come down here anyway. I got to thinking up there after all that. I thought, man, oh man. And even in Vietnam, I thought about this. My gosh, what if there's a major atomic attack or something? I'll have to live here the rest of my life, you know? And I got back up there and I kept thinking about that, you know. I thought, well, you know, if something like that happens, and then, you know, they were playing around with all that junk back then. You know, we could survive in Kentucky, so we came back here. I said, we can make it on the farm. We could fish a little bit and hunt a little bit and maybe grow a few things and have some water. So I'm glad we came back. Really, you know.
So, once you were back home and everything, did you have any trouble readjusting back to civilian life?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was difficult. It was. It still is. I still have problems at night, dreams, and things like that. One thing I didn't tell you about that was pretty bad over there in Vietnam. I'll get back to that.
Okay.
A lot of times when I was swimming or something in the South China Sea, it got to hurting me in my back. Oh my God, it just, So I went and had it checked out at what do you call it? I'm forgetting these terms, but I'm getting old, I guess. And anyway, they said, well, you got a knot back there as big as a quarter or whatever. So we need to watch that. So I'd have to go back every 10 days or so, and it was sore. And after a month, they said, we better take that out and see what's going on. Well, she took me that day for that surgery, took me over there to the hospital. And it was a bad timing, really bad timing. They just had a firefight, and that whole thing was full of casualties, full of guys that had been shot and everything else, you know. And they were being triaged, taking, you know, the worst first, you know. And they had me on a gurney, as well as all these others. My gosh, there was blood everywhere, floor. There was a guy next to me who just covered in shrapnel. I mean, bleeding all over. Had a towel across him. And he was shaking like this. I said, buddy, you have a cigarette? And I said, no, I don't smoke, you know. And there was a guy who was shot in the head and more or less dead, I guess. Bodies everywhere and all kinds of moaning and carrying on. And, oh, that was bad enough. But then they brought in this Montagnard family. Montagnards were kind of like the American Indians over there. They lived in the mountains and they were very primitive. And they were friendly with Americans. And the VC didn't like that at all, man. Well, they had worked over this family. They brought in the son first. He must have been, I don't know, 14, 15 years old, and he was burnt black. Black. He didn't have any ears. He didn't have a nose. even his eyelids were burnt off, and charcoal black. His lips turned wrong side out. You just see his teeth, and he was just there. They brought him in, put him behind the curtain, gave him a big shot of morphine, and let him die. That's all they could do.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought in the other family. Then they brought in probably his mother. She was on a stretcher, and she had a leg blown off above her knee, and they had a tourniquet around it. Just drip, 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 blood. And she was unconscious or whatever. I don't know. Maybe they gave her something.
Mm-hmm.
Put her behind the curtain. And then behind her was the man, and he had like a little 2-year-old boy who's leading, and then he had one strapped to his chest, a baby, and that tore me up worse than anything. Those kids, in that mess like that, and that whole thing was just like a bad dream, and I still think about that, and I can't get over it. And I had to wait. I was probably the last one that they took, because all I had to do there is just remove that thing.
Mm-hmm.
It turned out to be just like adipose tissue or something like that, or a cyst or whatever. But, I remember talking to the surgeon when he took my stitches out, and he had some Vietnamese in there, and he was complaining about it. I said, we have the same Vietnamese coming in here, said we'll come in, he'll bring them in here, and we'll clean them up and stitch them up and tell them not to, to keep it clean and so forth. And they won't do it. They'll be back in a week or two. And said they'll put those old poultices or whatever on it, and get it all infected. And said they won't listen to us, So I don't know. It's pitiful. I felt sorry for the people. I did. Had some good Vietnamese friends over there. They were good. This one lady, I think she said she was 35 years old. She looked older than that. But she worked in our office there. She kept it clean and so forth and all. And I got to know her real well. And she knew a little English, and I didn't know a few words in Vietnamese. And we'd write things and draw things, like kids, and really got to know her well. And I found out that the Vietnamese, especially the women, love detergent better than anything. So I went to the commissary and bought a great big box. I never saw such a box of Tide in my life. Probably that wide and like that, great big thing. And I put it in a closet. And I told her about it. And every day she'd go in there and take these little bags and fill them up and put them in her clothing. She thought that was grand. Oh, man, she thought that was grand. She got to bringing me stuff and fruits and things like that. I know there was a big old thing about like that. It was green and had looked like warts all over it. One day she's showing me how to eat it, cut it open, and kind of smell like marshmallow or something like that, and about that color too. And she said, eat these things. They look like seed. And I put one in my, no. You peel that skin off of it, and that's what you eat. I never did find out what it was, but it's good. And she'd bring cookies. And one time when we were under attack like that, we couldn't get supplies or anything, and no laundry or whatever like that. And after that was over, they all got behind on the laundry, and so she offered to do my laundry, and she brought it back. My gosh, she had that stuff starched and really pressed out and everything. Wouldn't take anything for it. And I gave her $20, and she didn't want to take it. But anyway, they were good people. My son was born. I had a picture of him up there, and all she thought he was the most beautiful thing. But she cried when I left. Don't know whatever happened to her.
And what happened to her? So you had a lot of sympathy for the people that were there and everything.
I did. It was rough. We would have these girls worked for us too, right there in personnel. They were typists and things like that. Some of them speak real good English and all usually. And of course, you had the VC ever found out about that? Oh my God, they found out about one of those girls that's working for us. And they came in one night and grabbed her, held her, and killed every one of her family right in front of her. Let her live. She never was right after that. We couldn't use her anymore. She was a mess. You know, a lot of terrible things happen. Sure do. And a lot of good things too. I don't know.
So, in hindsight, now that we're on the far side of history from it and everything, uh, what's your opinion about the war? Do you think it was a good idea? Do you think it would have?
Not at all.
How do you think it should have went? Or,
We should have gotten out of there years ago.
Mhm.
I guess I'll hate Johnson the rest of my life.
Mhm.
McNamara, they kept encouraging that stuff and making fake news, as Trump would say.
Mhm.
And 58,000 guys died for no reason.
Mhm.
That's what bothers me. I could have been one of them. And I wonder, why wasn't I? How did I make it? I wasn't any better than they were.